All right, so here's a continuation of where we left off in class. So based on what a couple of you were saying in class, we went through and with Jennifer's help here, we went through and we established that the hypotenuse of the bottom triangle on the right is square root of 73. The hypotenuse of the top triangle there that I have marked X right there is going to be square root of 29. We know that the sum of those two lengths is going to be equal to the length of the hypotenuse. That's that segment addition postulate we looked at earlier in the chapter, earlier in the year. So that should be the same thing as if we did in the bottom left here, where we're doing the right triangle, we're trying to find the length of the hypotenuse using Pythagorean theorem there. So the question really became, towards the end of class, that square root of 29 plus square root of 73 should be equal to square root of 194. So I crunched those numbers for us, and I think like Mackenzie was saying in class, it's just slightly off. You can see that the one on the right is slightly bigger, which means that this isn't really a right triangle, or even a triangle itself. Like there's an issue with the side lengths. Okay? So here's another thing that you can think of, and Mackenzie actually just hit on this earlier in the class, but I think she went in a slightly different direction. Another way to take a look at this is if we take into account the slope of the triangle on the bottom. The triangle right on the bottom has a slope that's going to be negative 3 over 8. Right? The slope of this triangle up top here should be the same. Right? So m sub 2, this is going to be equal to negative 2 over 5. Negative 2 over 5 is not the same as negative 3 over 8. So what we actually end up having happen here is that this is not a right triangle, and negative 3 over 8 is actually going to be less than negative 2 over 5. So what we're actually seeing here is that there's essentially a dip in between. So even though it looks like this is what's happening here, there's actually a dip in it, so it kind of looks like this. And so we have the other shapes up top there, and this is where they form together, and the other one over here. So we actually end up with that dip in the two shapes there. And so what actually happens here is that instead of actually forming what we think is happening there, I'm exaggerating this a bunch here, but we end up with this gap in between the two of them there. Okay? And so if you actually try putting yours together, you're going to find there's a little bit of a gap in between them. That's why we want to be really careful with it. That gap is going to result in the extra unit showing up. Okay? So pretty cool example. I'll send a website link that has a whole bunch of more information. Maybe a cool thing to share with your family. Just kind of show them what you're doing in class and see if you can stump somebody with it. But that's as far as we're going to go to with it. So hopefully you had a fun time messing around with this. I definitely did, and I appreciate everybody's participation with it, especially being on the last day before break. So hope everybody has a really great winter break, and I'm really looking forward to getting back together in January to keep going with this stuff. Okay.